Good afternoon, everybody. This is Chuck Davis speaking from Adaptive Solutions. Thank you for taking the time today to join us for our in-house counsel webinar session that we're hosting with our partners at iManage. We have a very, very good session, I hope, planned for you today, and we're going to be working with some wonderful folks from the in-house legal community who are going to help us understand some of the business challenges they've been facing over what feels like the last year, but it's probably just about the last 6 or 7 weeks of how their companies are evolving around what we've talked about with coronavirus and the pandemic. But we want to make this even a little bit more than that if we could, to make this educational around what we should be thinking about moving forward and how the industry is changing around us as we do our jobs. So I'm going to do a little bit of housekeeping first, and then we'll get a chance to introduce everybody. As I said, I'm Chuck Davis. I'm president and one of the co-founding partners of Adaptive Solutions. We are an iManage implementation and consulting partner, and I'll share with the group that I am a recovering legal IT professional. In a past life, I was in-house at 2 law firms in the Philadelphia, Pennsylvania area, currently residing in the state of New Jersey, number 2 in the nation for COVID-19. Thankfully, I'm south. I will tell you that the lines for today are muted, with the exception of our panelists. And we will be recording today's session. So if you have to leave a little bit early, or if someone could not make the session and you would like to share it, we will be sending out information both on iManage and Adaptive Solutions social media sites. So look for that information as a follow-up to today's webinar. We're hoping to run right around 45 minutes to an hour, depending on the speed of the session and if anybody has any questions. And with that thought in mind, at the end of the session, we are saving a little bit of time for what we're going to call our lightning round. So if you notice on your GoToWebinar panel, there should be a questions and answers panel or a chat panel. You can use either one of those. And if you have a question, please hold it for the end, and we'll open that up to our panelists. So with that said, I think what I'm going to do is go around in alphabetical order. And starting with Lorraine, asking her to introduce herself, tell us a little bit about her company that she works for, what her role is in in-house counsel, and maybe a little bit of an icebreaker, Lorraine, to tell us a little bit about what you're doing in your spare time to break up these 7 weeks of quarantine.
Sure. Good day, everyone. I'm the Legal Operations Manager at PTC Therapeutics, a biopharma in New Jersey focused on rare disease. In my current role, I'm responsible for corporate, legal, and intellectual property budget management, as well as the tools, technology, and process management. My spare time, what do I do? In my spare time, I bake a lot, so my family's going to walk out of this stay-at-home order here in New Jersey a lot heavier, probably not fitting some of our clothes. And I've picked up this really horrible online shopping habit. So I think I'm going to have to join us, the support group when we're let go.
That sounds like 2 very fun pastimes, Lorraine. Good luck with that. I'll take the baking. I don't know about the shopping habit. I'll be careful with that one. Next, I'd like to introduce and say hello to Sherry Kangas from Chick-fil-A. Sherry, would you please do the same?
Sure. Thanks for having me. So I come from Chick-fil-A Support Center, and if you're not familiar with Chick-fil-A, we are a quick service restaurant company, and our hero product is our chicken sandwich. Been at Chick-fil-A for 18 years, and most of my career has been spent on practice teams in the department, in the legal department, but currently for the last couple of years have served in the legal operations team, and specifically lead the systems and analytics team. What have I been doing? Besides working, I have a freshman in college who's not thrilled to be home, but we've had some really great conversations about her assignments and things that I wouldn't be getting insight to if she was still at school. And my sophomore in high school is not thrilled about still doing schoolwork, but we're trying to survive that, and then focusing on fitness. I've tried to start walking at least 5 miles a day so that hopefully I can still fit into my clothes when this is over.
That sounds wonderful. Hey, Sherry, a little shameless plug here. Can you tell us a little bit about the nightly nuggets and the Chick-fil-A recipes that the company is talking about?
Sure. So if you follow us on Facebook, or if you haven't, I would recommend it. So each night we have what's called a nightly nugget, where one of our staff members is sharing a recipe. They're making it for you through a video, and it uses Chick-fil-A products. They're all very simple, and my favorite so far that I've seen is the chocolate peanut butter pie that's made with a chocolate milkshake.
That sounds really good. That's a problem.
It is.
And I had the opportunity, I'll say that I was able to share and visit Chick-fil-A in Atlanta at their headquarters. And I was mentioning earlier to our panel that they have an in-house cafeteria that looks like a big Chick-fil-A, and they have a gym right next to it. So they take care of their people on both sides, which is wonderful. And last, Marianne, I'm going to ask you to wrap up for us.
Hi, I'm Marianne Troscinski. I'm a senior legal operations analyst at Navistar. And Navistar, we make trucks and school buses, big trucks and school buses. World headquarters where I work is located outside Lisle, Illinois, west of Chicago. We have facilities in several states and Mexico, other countries too. Let's see, I've been with Navistar 14 years this month. I've had a variety of roles, but for almost 4.5 years now, I've been with legal operations and love it. Best opportunity I've had. I've just really enjoyed the whole thing. So what do I do? In the beginning, when it was so cold here in the Chicago area, I binge watched a few shows. We liked, there's a couple on Netflix, and of course now the names are escaping me. One, Convenience, that was a really good one. And we're all the way through that, 3 or 4 seasons now. And then there's another one that's new this year called Breeders, which you have to be able to tolerate bad language, so it's not for people with kids, but it is fun. The first episode, I thought, oh, can't watch this, but then I got better. So that's what I've been doing pretty much for fun, and then trying to call one person a day. Just one person, maybe I haven't talked to them. Whether it's work
What's that
or
old
not,
line? Was it AT&T that said reach out and touch someone years ago? That's a wonderful
there
thought
you
to bring
go.
back, right?
There you go. It's been very nice. It's been a nice, instead of driving home, spending the time in the car driving, I'm trying to use that time to call somebody.
I bet you a lot of the children that despise the sight of a school bus sure miss them today, right? They wish they could just ride that bus for a couple of hours.
Yeah.
Well, thank all three of you for all the good work that you do, and for taking some time to be with us today and sharing your stories and talking a little bit about the technology that we're going to go into. I do want to make one special mention that Joe Fischetti from PSE&G was scheduled to be with us today, but unfortunately he did have an emergency that came up this morning. So we are going to be light one panelist, but we wish Joe the best and hopefully everything is okay. And I know that we'll do wonderful and have a great session on our own, so we should be fine. Just for those of you that are watching, we're going to talk to each of the panelists and ask some questions, but we're going to make this interactive with them and try to get a little bit of dialogue going to help you guys get some perspectives of how different in-house law departments are handling different areas of technology with the pandemic that we're living in. So, Lorraine, if it's okay, I'm going to start with you. And knowing that you're headquartered up in New Jersey and my home state as well, we've been really hard hit with the pandemic, and I believe our governor just announced that we're going to go through yet another 30 days of lockdown here in the Garden State. I assume that most of the outside counsel you work with are in the surrounding areas as well, maybe in our tri-state area. Could you share with us how your team is connecting and collaborating with that outside counsel and how much impact it's had on your business over the past couple of weeks and what you're doing at your legal department to bridge that gap?
Sure. So our offices worldwide have been closed since March 9th of this year. And since then, I would like to say the number of Microsoft Teams meetings, collaborations, Zoom meetings, and teleconferences have increased exponentially. So I think we spend a lot of time on the phones with our outside counsel, but also maximizing the use of Zoom and Microsoft Teams. I mean, these systems were always in place prior to this pandemic, but everyone's stepping up with using them and learning how to use them and collaborate with internal and external resources.
That's interesting. So you guys were a Teams and Zoom environment prior, but with the change in work habits, you've found that demand and use to go up obviously exponentially, correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Is there one platform that seems to be a preference for you that you like to use? Do you use one more internally with your internal staff and one that you might use more with outside counsel, or is it a little bit of both?
So we are moving towards an agile methodology. So Microsoft Teams internally is becoming something that we use more often than Zoom, but externally we use Zoom quite often. I think we use Zoom a lot. It has a lot of great functionality where you can do breakout rooms and different things of the sort. So we can separate a large meeting into group meetings and then come back to the larger meeting. Plus you can have over 300 attendees with your Zoom meetings. So I think Zoom is what we've been using more. So
That sounds like what we've been hearing. And I can tell you early on, we heard that some of the Teams customers back in the first week or two were having some problems with audio quality where Zoom seemed to be a little superior. But Zoom really has stepped up. People have found unique ways to use their platform. It can be yoga, it can be work, it can be education. It's just amazing. How about Sherry at Chick-fil-A? Are you guys using similar tools?
We are. I would say pre-COVID, Blue Jeans was probably our go-to. Teams was definitely in use, but not so much the collaboration part of it for the video. But we're definitely using Teams a lot more now. But at least for us, external people can't join the Teams meeting. So I would say it's probably split depending on if it's internal or external between Blue Jeans and Teams.
Blue Jeans and Teams for you. And how about Marianne? Are you using similar tools?
We use Teams. Teams is a preferred video thing for us. I don't think we're supposed to use Zoom because there were some security issues, but I really haven't followed how that's changed the last 2 months. And it could be that they've upped that. So I just think for our attorneys and paralegals and even with outside counsel and internally, we're just doing more emails, more teleconferences, more phone calls than we did before. The in-person meetings are of course gone.
Absolutely. I'm going to ask one to all of the panelists. You guys can feel free to jump in here. As the people are working from home and you're seeing some of these challenges for this extended period, how are you overcoming them other than technology? Have you changed process? Have you changed, administrative methodologies that the businesses are working through? How are you guys evolving your workflow and work habits? Anybody want to take a stab at that one?
I don't know that we've changed our workflows too much. We're doing more with DocuSign. I know that. One of the things a process is, what do you do about the mail? I mean, there is still mail that comes in. There is still service of process that comes in, through the mail.
Correct.
Not too much, but it has to be checked. So we had to work all that out. But as far as changing a lot of processes, no, with the technology that we have today, we really don't have to. The technology we have available is very helpful.
I'm just going to ask you about like the physicality of mail or a paper file. I had spoken to one or two law firms in the last couple of weeks that mentioned something as simple as a drive-through process where, someone can come up, there's a no contact point, the attorney opens his or her trunk and they pick up something and drop off. Have we seen any of that in corporate legal, or is that something that your three organizations have not really had to do?
So our facilities team has been assisting with our mail. If it's addressed to a certain person, then they will make sure it's sent to your home. If it's something that they feel they have to open right away and get scanned to us from the building, there are facility teams members working within the building in shifts. We also have researchers, of course, who still go in. So the essential employees are still allowed to go within the building. As far as paper filing, we've started moving away from paper files. So mostly everything is electronic. I don't think we're using technology less. I believe we're using it a lot more. Now that everyone is working remotely, our IT team has been working around the clock as expected, and we've been given permission to kind of go pick up our say if we need our monitor because we don't want to work from our laptop all day, we need those extra large screens, you know, we can pick them up from the dock, just have to set a time so that there aren't too many people and it's a no contact pickup. The company's been great with that.
That's wonderful. That sounds like it's working well for you guys. Sherry, the same at Chick-fil-A, anything different?
Kind of the same two things were the thoughts I was having. Our legal department had been piloting the use of DocuSign for the last couple of years. And so we were moving to an enterprise rollout of it that was scheduled for the end of March. So we accelerated that a little bit to get it open for everyone. One of the issues we still have with that are the documents that require wet signatures. There's some jurisdictions that won't take the DocuSign yet, but we've noticed that changing over the last month or so, that some are. So trying to stay on top of that and manage it. And then there's the whole notarization piece too that can throw another wrinkle in. And then the mail, we have the same issue. So our legal operations team, there's 3 of us that are taking a different day to go and retrieve the mail. And for our department, we are scanning and emailing out the documents to folks, and, you know, service of process is an issue. There are some things where we may have to be gathering checks that may come in and getting to the people that, you know, the accounts receivable folks and that kind of thing. So we definitely had to get a process around the mail stood up pretty quickly.
It's interesting because when you think about the business of law has to change, but the core business of what the company does also is evolving. So you're competing against those two things, right? How you function to provide the service to your company and how your company delivers its product or service to the outside world. So it really is a major shift in what you're doing as a company. Sherry, I know we're going to talk a little bit, and we stole your thunder on the last question, I think, about what you were using for collaboration. So I'm going to change this a little bit. When you talk about the way that people are working from home, I know that it's heavy with BlueJeans and those tools. Tell us a little bit about how people at Chick-fil-A Corporate Legal work from home. Are they issued company laptops? Do they work from mobile devices? How do they connect in, and how's that working for them today versus what it would have been if COVID-19 didn't happen?
So for us, we were in I would say, a fortunate situation that we have been campus mobile for the last few years anyway. So all of our staff currently have company issued laptops. This is getting a little bit into the security piece, but we have single sign-on, multi-factor authentication. All of that was already stood up. So we were ahead of the curve when it came to that. And because we were campus mobile, I would say half of our department, specifically the attorneys, did not have a workspace anyway, not a dedicated workspace. So they were already used to, even if they came in, having to find a touchdown spot. And they, you know, because of that, a lot of people join meetings remotely anyway. So we were already using a lot of this technology. So it really helped us, not that we haven't had issues, you know, with getting some of the technology to work remotely, but overall we were in a better place than we could have been because we had that already stood up.
That was one of the most interesting things when I came to visit you guys, that you had that mobile workspace built out where you had your huddle rooms and areas where people would work. So it sounds like that culture, the sheer nature of how you were planning to work at the office, really prepared people when they had to be dispatched to home. It didn't really matter geographically where they were. They took their laptop with them, and their office was where that professional was at that given point in time.
That's correct. Mm-hmm.
That's wonderful. Do you guys see, Marianne and Lorraine, do you guys see any of that happening in your companies? Do you see a shift to a more mobile workforce? Or let me change this, maybe Marianne, directing this to you. Do you see the COVID-19 crisis transforming that in the future? Maybe you were office-based before, but do you see this maybe putting more people out in the field?
Well, I think, you know, legal at Navistar has not embraced the mobile life quite as much as the rest of the company. We all have dedicated desks, but we do all have laptops. There was only 1 or 2 people in the department, that we have about 40, say, and that had never telecommuted all this time. I mean, that had to be trained, you know, as far as attorneys go and paralegals. And our admins were very adaptable, and they picked it up really quick. So, but I do think that going forward, we will work at home more. You know, that I don't know how much more, you know, but I think maybe we'd go into the office eventually when this is all down the road worked out, maybe 2 or 3 days a week, and then work at home the rest. There's a lot of reasons for that. You know, it saves the company money, for one thing, on just utilities, you know, and the need for the office space and large conference rooms. We don't need them anymore. We can do it, you know, this way. People have learned we can have conferences this way, and it works, you know. It saves money for the employees. They don't have to buy gas or, you know, pants. No. But
dry cleaning, right? Dry cleaning gets cut down dramatically.
Yeah, dry cleaning. Right. And it also is good for the planet. You know, I think the planet's enjoying this breather. I hear lots of good things about pollution in some of the big cities being way down. So I do think there'll be changes. I don't know how it's going to all pan out yet.
Yeah, it is definitely changing our world. I think we were talking earlier as a group, even for education for the children, you know, how will they go back to school and what will that look like? And
Right.
sometimes things happen
Right.
and there's a monumental event that changes the course of how we conduct business and do things in the future. So this definitely seems like one of them. Sherry, I'm going to talk a little bit to you, and I know that we've been talking about, you know, doing an upgrade to your Work10 iManage client, and this really talks around, you know, pushing out software is easy. You know, pushing something over a wire or a VPN is not the hard part. It's really more about how do you support the user and making sure that everything's working well, and what I like to call that white glove touch that we like to give to our attorneys and professionals that are working. How is Chick-fil-A prepared to handle that, and how does that look as you do your day-to-day support, or as you look to do any other initiatives for your legal department?
So I'm sure everyone is in the same boat that we are with issues like bandwidth from home, having to replace routers, making investments in Wi-Fi systems like the Google Mesh or the Amazon Eero, and limiting how many people in your house are on the Wi-Fi at the same time. Competing priorities with that, whether it's the homework or the conference call for work. But members of our team have taken on like initial troubleshooting and how-to guidance for our folks in our department. And then when all else fails, if we need to, we can send them to our IT lab for support. But our initial troubleshooting is done through a variety of ways. It may be by phone, we may use Teams, we may create quick videos just to show on the screen how to do it, maybe using Snagit. But so far we haven't had to make any house calls, for which I'm very grateful.
Well, that's always good.
Exactly. And it's, you know, going to Campus Mobile has also shown us that even though we have company issued laptops, they may not be quite as robust as we would like them to be. It was just easier to get help when you could run down to the IT lab. So it has surfaced a few things like that. But overall, I think we're doing pretty well with helping our users.
You mentioned Wi-Fi, you know, things like usually what we would support, you know, the business laptop or the business application. Have you guys gone a little bit further to maybe provide maybe more of a residential network support if they're having a problem connecting to the internet, or are users kind of on their own when it comes to connectivity?
I would say we're kind of on our own with that, because as you can imagine, people use a variety of companies for their Wi-Fi. So to my knowledge anyway, we haven't really provided support when it comes to that. It's just once they have it up and running, if they need to get connected, we can help them then.
And if you have what I like to refer to as the HTO, or the Home Technology Officer, also known as your teenager, they're really supporting the home Wi-Fi and kicking you off when they want to play Fortnite or watch a Netflix show, right?
Exactly.
All right, Lorraine, talking a little bit about some of the systems that you use. I mean, we know that a lot of legal departments are moving a lot of their platforms to the cloud. Do you guys feel at PTC that having cloud technology has really given you that agility? And where are you in that process?
So cloud-based platforms has helped to ease some of the work from home challenges for our team. Actually, just last week, I think, yeah, it was Thursday, my Outlook was corrupt. And it felt like my laptop had had enough of me. It just shut down. Maybe I was overworking it. So it took our IT team remotely almost 3 days to get me back up and running. And while I did have that downtime, because we have so many different cloud-based platforms, I was able to still do my work on my personal laptop utilizing the Okta single factor sign-on, well, two-factor authentication, and still have access to Microsoft Teams. I was able to get to my Outlook through the web, iManage, any e-billing system we use. So, I mean, this is life now. It was
Absolutely.
Right.
great. The 3 days that I
Right.
would have normally have been down, I actually wasn't.
So you would agree that those platforms really have given you the opportunity to work much more and stay connected and to be able to be more productive during these changing times.
Definitely.
That's good. Marianne, do you feel the same way?
Oh, yes. I mean, our IT team has done an amazing job. They doubled our VPN capacity in under a week, and that eliminated many, many problems. I've had no problems since that first week, since they took care of that. But also having Office 365 available. There was one day at the beginning of the month when we had a lot of usage on the VPN, beginning of the month, things that needed being, and it was down. But everyone could go to Office 365 and, like you say, Lorraine, do most of your work. So it worked for us really well, and people are learning that the cloud is here. People maybe who didn't want to use Office 365 before were more comfortable, in Outlook. They've made change. I think that's one of the best things about this, if you're going to look for silver linings, is that people have learned, the cloud's a good thing, change is okay. I can learn something new, and it's been very productive for us in that sense.
It's good. It's wonderful to hear. I know when we spoke to a lot of law firms early on, I think corporate legal had a little bit of a competitive edge, but a lot of the law firms were using some more legacy systems like remote access desktops, Citrix, RDS, those technologies. And while they had them, they had the scale to support maybe 20 to 30% of the workforce, but they really didn't have the server farms built to be totally remote. And a lot of the IT people had to go in early on and bring more servers online or scale those systems out to give them that power they need. So having a cloud first mentality, I think, really overcomes a lot of that. So for folks that are looking at upgrading and replacing, it's a great story to tell. I hate to say it, but never waste a good pandemic, right? You want to make sure that something's happening and we can use this to move ourselves forward for the next time. And it brings with it a whole nother plethora of security challenges. And Sherry, I know that you and I love to talk about security, and I've done some visuals for you. Tell us a little bit about how Chick-fil-A thinks about weaving security into their plan as they start looking at these new systems, with the pandemic, but also when they're adopting a new technology in general. How rigorous is that with InfoSec?
I would say it's probably as rigorous as it could get anywhere when it comes to Chick-fil-A. That's like one of the first things on our list. We know if we don't clear our security team, there's no point in going any further. So one thing I did want to share with you before I dive into that, I have been very thrilled and wanted to tell you this, that we've had quite a few of our staff, including our attorneys, say that they were so grateful that we went to iManage a year ago in the cloud, because they don't know how we would be working right now without it. Right after we went remote, we started getting emails the very next day from IT asking folks to limit the amount of time that they were on VPN, which is where we would have been without iManage on a shared drive. So, but we quickly found that most of our systems we're using do not require the VPN access anymore, and especially for legal. So, but it was just nice to hear everybody, we're all fully on board that iManage has saved us right now. So we're very grateful for it.
They get nervous during the change management. They like it at the end.
Yeah, exactly. But as far as security, I mean, it is a top priority at Chick-fil-A and always has been. But as I mentioned, because we were already campus mobile, we already had a lot of those systems in place. So we have single sign-on, the multi-factor authentication.
Oops.
Oh, did we lose Sherry?
VPN connection.
Oh, she's coming back.
Sorry. So we had a lot of that already in place, but if you're looking like at new platforms and things, like the security piece is the first big hurdle that we have to clear.
Mm-hmm.
And that's interesting, because a lot of firms, I think a lot of businesses, even this group mentioned that we're using Zoom more, we're using a different platform that maybe you didn't use prior to this situation, right? And you hear even the funny stories, I hate to bring them up, but you hear about the concepts of Zoom bombing, right? Where, you know, people are having these meetings and kids are jumping in and they're doing funny activities during the meetings. So you really do need to think, if I'm using a platform either temporarily or I'm using a platform permanently moving forward, what are the security implications? How do we use it to the best possible way? Because we still have a responsibility to protect that information that we're sharing with people.
Right.
Absolutely. So Marianne, tell me a little bit about some of the softer stuff, right? Social interaction. I'm sure you guys are used to being in that office together and working with each other. Do you do anything with the staff members to keep people connected, to do a little bit of things that are fun?
Well, we do. We have a variety of ways that we're keeping in touch. Our legal, I'm talking about the legal department and my group, Legal Ops.
Yes.
Right. We have 4 of us in legal ops, and 2 days a week we have a virtual huddle like this. And then on Friday mornings we have coffee. And it really has worked out so well. I think we've all know each other even better than we did, and we're understanding each other's roles better and communicating really well this way. I know that the other groups in our department, we have 3 or 4 other big groups, they're having virtual staff meetings at least once a week. And I believe that they're doing more virtual meetings, smaller meetings too. And then every other week, our general counsel instituted a bi-weekly department update. And it's on Teams, so we can still only see, you know, 5, actually it's 5 people, 4 people plus yourself down in the corner at a time, but everybody can participate and listen. And Kurt Kramer, he updates us on all the business things we need to know. And then and on the COVID-19, you know, what's happening with that, which is still in flux, of course. And then at the end, we have a few minutes to talk about, you know, what do you do for fun, like we did here in the beginning. People will recommend a book or recommend a television show. We haven't done recipes yet, but I'm all for that. So I may bring that up next time. So I don't feel that, you know, certainly with my team, I have not lost contact at all. And through these group meetings, it's getting better. In the first one, hardly anybody had their camera on. That was an issue. I thought I want to see the faces myself, but you know, it's getting better every time. More and more people are taking the tape off their screen so you can see them. So we're getting better and hoping that it ends soon. You know, but this is working for us right now.
All we can do is hang in there, right? Hopefully just a little bit longer.
Right.
That sounds great. I know when you talked about the food, that's really the big problem at home, right? I have a little 8.5 by 11 paper hanging up in my refrigerator for my daughters. When they open the door, it says, "You're not hungry, you're just bored. Close the refrigerator door." Because kids keep going in and out all day long looking for something to eat, and can only go to the grocery once a month. We're limiting those trips, but I'm with you. Lorraine, this is something that I've been thinking about. You know, can you or do you at PTC provide some additional flexibility to your staff? Because, you know, stay-at-home parents at this point are teachers, they're workers, they're employees, they're doing everything. Do you maintain a rigid 9 to 5, or are you giving those people a little bit more of a flexible schedule to do their jobs?
So being a global company, PTC has always been flexible within reason. And I think we're even more so now. I have colleagues that have toddlers who know that after bedtime is their best time to be able to get anything done, because during the day they're home and it's just the baby wants all of the attention. I myself, I have an 8-year-old who I've been homeschooling in between meetings, and every now and then you may see her walk up and ask me a question, and everyone's been very understanding that, okay, you know, she's there. I think this climate change in New Jersey being number 2 in the nation, it's built more of a community. We get to know people more intimately than we did when we just worked with them in the office day in and day out. We now get to see the inner workings of their home and their family members, and it's bringing us a lot closer together. Our leadership team, they noticed some of the craziness going on because it also seems like it almost seems as if people are working more now that we're working remotely, because you see people working later hours. But perhaps that's just because during the day they had to deal with their child or their elderly parents or whomever else is in the household. So our leadership team, they encourage us to interact with each other. They had IT recently create kind of a internal wiki where we can share what's going on in our lives and kind of keep everyone clued in on the different things and how they work around this new lifestyle, this new work-life balance that we have. So I think it's working pretty well for PTC.
Do you find that's being pushed down all the way from the general counsel, or is it more of the legal operations leadership that's pushing for that, or does the GC mandate that for your team?
So this is being pushed down all the way from our CEO. This is coming from the executive committee,
Got it.
up all the way down. Our CEO actually gave us, I think it was April 20th, which is Patriots Day. He gave us the day off. Just go ahead, spend some time with your family and have the day off. So yeah, it's coming from the top all the way down. And I watched a TED talk recently. I can't remember who the moderator was, but she was saying, sometimes you have to take some time for yourself. So maybe do a no morning meeting or no Monday meetings. So I've pushed that to my team as well. Perhaps we can't do a entire day without meetings, but maybe we can say no Monday morning meetings so you can have that sense of peace, because we are in more meetings right now. Just block off your schedule that one day a week in the morning and get back to work. Get things done that maybe weren't getting done because we are in so many more meetings now. And that seems to be working for my team.
How about you, Marianne? Is it similar with Navistar? Are they giving a lot of that flexibility?
I'm not just saying this to be politically correct. I mean this. I mean, I've been so impressed with how our senior leadership and department leadership has been flexible and kind and concerned, about all of us. And we get regular updates on, if you need help with different items, personal or work items, here's where you can go. And it's been really nice to see more than the side of people, like you were saying. It's more like we're seeing the human side too. And I love that. It just makes me like working where I work even more. So it's been a good experience.
That's wonderful. Sherry, I can't let this go without letting you chime in as well about your company, please.
I would say the same. We're very grateful that our organization leads strongly with the culture of care from the very top. And we've been encouraged the same all along. Take the time you need. Even a statement was made in one of our company meetings a week or two ago about it feeling odd that you're not busier than you are in some cases, and that's okay. Depending on your work and the type of work you do, you may not be able to function like you were at the office. And just, making the statement that it's okay. We're in a season that is very different than we've ever experienced. But yes, the flexibility is definitely there for us.
It sounds like there's 3 wonderful companies to work for, which makes you proud to do your job. That's really good news. Sherry, I'm going to stay with you for a minute, and I'm going to talk a little bit about the future. And as things start to get better, I know you're down in the Georgia area, and we're starting to see you guys open up a little bit. What are you thinking about as people come back to work and they want to take a little time off with their families? How is the legal department starting to think through that influx of PTO requests, and how do you navigate that as the normalcy returns with summertime?
Well, I'll be honest with you, I was a little puzzled over this question. as I just said, we've been encouraged to take time, and in fact, we've been encouraged to take time now if we need it or want to. So we're not really expecting a deluge of PTO requests, but it made me wonder if like we're missing some insight that you've tapped into that we need to be thinking about.
Did we raise the red flag for you?
Yeah, exactly. I hope none of our people are listening to this. No, I'm kidding.
I mean,
But-
and the part of it is, where are they going to go? Will
Right.
people be comfortable going out? Will they fly? What will happen as we get back to what we call the new normal?
Right.
But and maybe they don't want a PTO. Maybe they've had so much time with their family that they just want to go back to work.
Exactly. They want to come back to work. But I think it would just be business as usual for us is what we're expecting. I mean, you know, people take vacations in the summer, so at least right now, I wouldn't expect it to be any different than it has been.
I think Lorraine was talking about, doing the homework with the 8th grader. I mean, her algebra skills are probably through the roof at this point, right? You learn a lot of new things that you forgot many years ago.
Yeah.
Does anybody else on the panel think that there might be some influx of people coming back saying, hey, I need to take a break? Or do you guys see what Sherry and I are talking about? Maybe there won't be.
I'm not part of that decision-making process in legal. I know I have quite a bit of vacation time, left to take, but I had already planned it further out. So I don't really know how other people are going to handle that. We have, like I said, about 40 people, and some of them may be taking vacation now. I don't know. But as far as what will you do with that vacation? That's another, I had 2 big trips I had to cancel, which means now I have, vacation time where I'm going to be home again. And you're right, I'd rather not spend it all home again. Have to come up with some things to do.
And you've probably got
time.
some airline flight coupons you can use in the future, right?
I do, actually. And I will say the airlines were really good about it.
Absolutely. I've seen the same. I was
One was
supposed
an
to be
overseas trip and they just put them all back and no problem. So
I was supposed to be leaving for Italy this weekend, and that's not happening right now. So, but I'm with you, but we'll get there soon.
Right.
So talking about projects, Marianne, staying with you for a minute, I know you're currently in the process of getting ready to move to the iManage cloud, unlike, Chick-fil-A who's there.
Right.
How are you guys going to navigate that with people being displaced and working from home? How do you go about something like that?
Well, what happened early on, I believe this is our 8th week of out of the office. And right about the first week, the decision was made to pause the implementation process. We were all the way up to, we had completed the design phase the same day, the same email where I said, I approve this design phase. I had to also say, because there was just too much going on. We just couldn't ask the attorneys at that point to try to learn something new. But as time has gone on and things have calmed down and for everyone, we are thinking about hitting the go button again. And it's not my decision. That the GC it's his decision and his staff, and there'll be discussions over the next couple weeks. But I have a pretty good feeling that it can go forward. I think it can go forward. But again, there's other people that have to agree with that. We have some of our key attorneys now who are ready to go forward. So I watched last week one of these seminars on how to implement iManage remotely, and it was one of the best things I watched. It gave me a lot of good ideas. There's things you have to consider when you go live remotely. First off, you've got people working from home who may have never worked from home before. We have a couple of those. Well, it's 2 months in now. I think they've all got the hang of it at this point. So their families have the hang of it at this point. Leave mom or dad alone, while they're working. So to do the trainings was an issue. We had originally scheduled 90-minute trainings, and I don't think we're going to do that. This is still in flux, but I think what was recommended last week and what was being tossed around is you do a 60-minute training with a small group. And for us, that means about 6 people. But I know Adaptive said you could go as high as 10, but we want smaller groups. So you do all these 60-minute trainings. You go live, and then a month or two out, you do another 30-minute wrap-up training, which for right now, that sounds good. And again, we have to work through all those details. I don't think that a 90-minute training right now is going to work for too many people. That's a long time at home to have to focus like that. When you do have the kids and the dogs and the doorbell, you can do 60, but I just feel like 90 is pushing it. So I like the idea of splitting it up.
But breaking it into some smaller chunks, making it a little bit more
smaller
palatable.
chunks. Right. Let's see.
I could say with Sherry had we had talked last week or two about this, where Chick-fil-A is in a little bit of a different boat, where they're on an earlier version of iManage 10, and we talked about moving to a later client. I think the general consensus we came to, Sherry, was we can do it, but we're going to do it a little more slowly.
That's right. Yeah, I had concerns too with everybody being remote, but when you peel it back and look at it, it was a remote push anyway. It's not like people were walking around to everyone's computers doing it. Our IT was pushing out the files anyway, and that's remote. But we are going to take it in smaller groups of people just to make sure we don't have any issues, and we, if something catastrophic happened, we don't take everybody down at one time.
Exactly. Impact will be lessened, and we could be safer. And then once you gain a comfort level of that process moving, you can always pick your cadence up a little bit as the time starts to go forward.
Right.
Sounds great. Lorraine, any other thoughts on that from your end of your perspective?
So as far as rolling out new software and things, I'm all for sprinting. We've been home for 8 weeks now, so like Marianne said, everyone in your household by now should be used to mom and dad's schedule. And I don't want to waste any time getting anything out, because sometimes the project will get pushed back even further and folks will forget what you trained them on in the beginning. So I like to do those sprints where, okay, let's keep this moving. Let's not let being home and being away from the office stop our initial goal.
Yeah, there definitely feels to be, from a business standpoint, from iManage and Adaptive, there seems to be a pent-up demand, where early on in the first 3-4 weeks, everybody was a little bit scared and panicked and projects were stopping. But we do feel the same as what you're telling us, which is people are getting back to that new normal and business has to go on. And we found out that we're still open and that we're still paying our people and we're still doing business. And I think in the industries that we serve, I think we're finding that we can continue to move forward, maybe at a slower cadence, but still get stuff done. I'm going to watch the time. I wanted to ask one last, please, somebody go ahead.
No, someone said something about, I think it was Sherry, about the having someone there in the office, on to help going desk to desk. No matter when we implement now, if we implement now or if we implement after everyone's in the office, we probably won't be able to bring a trainer in. We're going to have to do it.
Correct.
So that's another reason to go ahead, and also you don't want to lose your momentum. You don't want people to forget.
Distance learning is probably going to be a requirement, right? And finding new ways to support those people with virtual war rooms and, having not on boots on the ground, but virtual boots on the ground to support that staff during that time.
Yep.
Sounds great. So before we get into the last 5 or 10 minutes for opening up the chat panels, I wanted to ask each of you, is there one particular thing that you might recommend that we didn't talk about that other in-house counsels should be looking at doing to strengthen their businesses and maybe be ready for the next time? Is there something you'd recommend to say, hey, hindsight's 2020, you absolutely have to do this?
Well, okay, I'm a project manager in our department, and one thing I believe in is having that end of the project, what have we learned meeting. And I really, and then getting all the ideas from everyone, writing them down. And that's what I think I want to do I hope we do when we do all go back. Just have, even if it's like emails, collect ideas in emails, but a discussion would be better somehow, maybe like this, on what people liked and didn't like and what they want us to do going forward.
Sounds great. Anyone else want to comment on that one?
So I would say try to be proactive and expect the unexpected. Just be aware of your surroundings and what's going on in the world around you. At PTC, we closed our EMEA region offices prior to closing the rest of the world offices. And I remember telling my team that Friday before. Now, I always take my laptop home. I'm just one of those people. But I remember telling my team, make sure you take your laptops home tonight, because I'm pretty sure that when Monday rolls around, we won't be in the office.
That's a really
And
great point.
Monday
Be
rolled
prepared.
around and we weren't in the office. So I was glad that I had told my team, take your laptops home, be prepared. So, I mean, we can't say that this was expected, but it wasn't unexpected. We've seen it coming slowly since December, January. It was only a matter of time before it got here to the States.
Thank you. Great point. Anyone else want to comment on that? We are having 1 or 2 questions come in from the chat panel, so we could switch gears if you guys want to do that.
I'll just throw in real quick, agree with the learnings, capturing the information. Don't waste a good crisis, learn from it. And one of the things for us is looking at processes. We have uncovered through this various processes that we really need to fix. They just haven't been an issue that have, risen to the top. But even something as simple as like our mail process, we've uncovered the way we receive notice. Maybe we need to change some notice provisions that they come electronically and not through the mail. Just basic things like that. And even there's a lot of mail we get in our department that's really not for the legal department. We've just never taken the time to fix it. We throw it back in the inner office for it to get routed to the right place, where if we had taken the time to correct that, we wouldn't be dealing with it right now. So it's just, some of it's pretty simple stuff. We just need to take the time to focus on it.
Perfect, thank you. I'm going to give us the last couple of minutes for these couple of questions that have come in, and anybody that's in the audience that does have a question, feel free to post it to the questions panel. We do have a couple that are here. The first one I'll throw out to the group is, we're being asked, are any of you using workflow tools that are sitting on top of your document management system to create a workflow process? We know that iManage is a repository, but are you looking to build in those workflows as well? Can anybody comment on that?
We would have been if COVID-19 had not happened. Unfortunately, we were about to dive into a matter management system that would have integrated with iManage, and unfortunately, we had to hit the pause button on it. So currently, we are not.
Okay, so no workflow today at Chick-fil-A. How about you, Lorraine? Any workflow in place today?
So no workflow tools as of yet. We are looking at perhaps in the future using our contract lifecycle management system as part of the workflow with iManage, but we're not quite there yet.
And Marianne, last but not least, any workflow?
I know that we use, with our matter management system, there's at least a couple workflows that I'm aware of. One is, rate approvals, rate change approvals, the billing process. That's all done now electronically, so which has helped us a lot that we converted to that a few years ago. But we're in the process of looking at matter management systems, and I don't know what the future, a year from now, it could be many, many more workflows, not sure.
We hear that a lot in the corporate legal space. I think we have time for 1 or 2 more. Someone was asking about smart work from home, talking about the concept of people working with their peers using whiteboards when they're in the office, right, and mapping things out. What are we doing from a smart work standpoint with virtual whiteboarding?
So we do
What's
use
available?
virtual whiteboarding within Microsoft Teams, where everyone can kind of throw their ideas to a whiteboard and to gather to see what sticks for certain projects. So we have been using that internally.
So the Teams whiteboarding. Sherry, Marianne, are you guys touching on any of that, or that hasn't become a requirement recently?
It hasn't become a requirement for my team. We've been doing more of screen sharing, with documents, but we haven't explored the whiteboard yet.
Sounds good.
And we're about the same. We're about the same. Yeah.
Okay. And one more that we have, and we'll wrap up on this one, I think, is we're being asked, is anybody integrating their iManage system with a matter management system? And Sherry, I know you're there with iManage, but I don't think we're integrated yet at Chick-fil-A, correct?
No, we were close on matter management, but not there yet.
Lorraine, you're getting close to going live, so I know you're not going to be there yet, right?
So we have gone live and we're not quite there. We actually thought about it in a different way. We thought maybe integrating our system, our iManage system, with our docketing system for IP, because it's very important that we keep track of all of that email communication, all that historical data related to each intellectual property patent or case. So that's something we've been having internal discussions about.
And I apologize, I do know you're live. I'm confusing you and Marianne with the questions. Marianne, and you're not there yet.
No, we're not there yet, but the plan is to integrate our matter management system with iManage, and that when we open a matter in the matter management system, it will then, iManage will pull that information and open a matter in iManage and pull over the documents.
Right, and
Any
generate
documents that are in.
Right.
Right.
One of the things I'll share with you, and I know Chick-fil-A, we worked on this a little bit together, Sherry, was that while iManage gives you the ability to generate workspaces ad hoc through the system, there are some security concerns with that. So a lot of corporate legal departments do like to use a parent data source or a feed from a matter management system or a CRM to do that programmatically, to control the process and to control the security parameters that are assigned. So the last one or two we got were some thank yous from some wonderful audience people that are saying thank you for your time. And I want to do the same on behalf of Adaptive and the iManage team for the three of you for volunteering your time and providing such wonderful information today. I found this helpful. Hopefully the audience did too. And thank you very much, ladies, for taking the time to help today.
Thank you.
And just a reminder, we'll be recording and we'll be publishing. Thank you, iManage, for helping us to support and socialize the event. And we wish all of you stay safe and healthy and have a wonderful Mother's Day, ladies. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye. Bye.